Good morning, welcome guys. I am going to try and do what I'm calling a 5-minute Friday. Basically, what the aim of the game is, we're going to do them every day for the Tour de France, but 5-minute Fridays, we're going to talk through the racing that's happened over the last week, or I do a race preview or something along those lines. So I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to talk through the Tour de France and the GC summary and some of the key stages, and we'll try and keep it to 5 minutes or less. So we'll see how we go. It's Friday here in Sydney. It's a beautiful day. It's going to be warm this weekend, which is fantastic. Hopefully get out for a ride. But 3 weeks of late nights commence. It's the 101st edition of the Tour de France. It's starting in Nice, and the tour route that I've looked at looks like one of the hardest I've ever seen. And I listened to an interview the other day, and Cav reckoned it's the hardest he's ever seen in his career. It's a little bit shorter than normal, and we've got a lot of stages that are actually less than 200 Ks, so a bit more explosive racing potentially. Big question I think on everyone's mind obviously is form post-COVID, lockdown with different restrictions. You know, some riders look great at the Dauphiné, others did not, but a 1 week stage race is not a 3 week stage race, as we know, and there's a big difference. On top of that, you had all the crashes. Roglic has crashed, Bernal has crashed, Bachmann has crashed. Nairo got hit by a car earlier before returning into Europe. So there's a lot of question marks around a lot of riders. Sorry, Bernal didn't crash, but he pulled out of a bad back. So there's a lot of question marks around riders' form. Even at this point, there's still rumours circulating on the net about Roglic and whether he's going to start on Saturday or not. So who knows? It's going to be unpredictable. It's going to be exciting. So there's 7 flat stages, 4 hilly stages, 9 mountain stages, and an uphill TT. Stages that I've got earmarked as the ones not to miss. I think obviously the first stage is going to be really exciting, unpredictable. Stage 4, first uphill finish. Stage 10, potential for crosswinds. Stage 13, probably the hardest stage of the tour, I reckon. Stage 15, entry to the Alps, and a number of big days in there. Stage 17, that brutal bike path. Go and have a look at Inner Ring. He's done a Roads to Ride on it, and it looks savage. And obviously stage 20, the uphill time trial. Stage 21, will that be done with no crowds due to COVID? Watch this space, be interesting. So who are the contenders? I think obviously, Roglic has been all conquering since returning from lockdown. Jumbo-Visma look like unreal how strong they have been. I think Bernal obviously had a couple of good races in the lead up to the Dauphiné, but then Dauphiné didn't quite look like his best, and but I noticed on Betfair he's a lot shorter than what he was. I think that's probably because of Roglic's concerns around the crash, so we'll see. Dumoulin looks like he's riding himself into form. I think we'll see how he goes. He looked like he was getting better and better every single stage, and the way that he tacked on the final stage in the Dauphiné was I think it was just kind of showing his strength, like, I'm here, I'm going to be ready for the Tour, so he looks like he's coming into form. Big questions around Pogacar, the Pog, borrowing the TCP language, I suppose. I think 3 stages of the Vuelta last year, riding himself into the top 10, awesome form. I think UAE have said that they reckon he's actually in better form than the Vuelta last year. Vuelta is not the Tour, obviously, and I think at the Dauphiné, again, he was coming good. He rode really well on that final stage and got up to 4th overall on general classification, so I think he rode really well. But Tour de France is definitely a step up for him. I think we'll see how it goes. There's UAE said, I think, to take pressure off him, they said Aru is going to be the leader. Pogacar is going to be there as in a free role or kind of supporting Aru. We'll see how that pans out. That'll be interesting. Obviously, all the dramas around Ineos, not Dumoulin, Thomas being out, Froome obviously dropped, Thomas dropped, and we've got Carapaz into the mix. I think if you watched the Giro last year, he was unbelievable, and he got himself into a position where I think Landa had no choice but to support him. And if you've watched the Movistar documentary on Netflix, what came clear through that is, he moved to Ineos for the money, but the motivation around that wasn't just because of the money. Like, he's got a young family, he comes from nothing. There's a bit of slickness in realizing, you know what, I can make a serious difference to my family here, and I'm going to take the opportunities that come when I can get them. And you know, he did that in the Giro, and if there's an opportunity there, I think, for him to win this race for Ineos, he will take it, and you will see there will be no mucking around from him, in my opinion. I think there's a few question marks in his form, like, you know, Tour of Poland is not the Dauphiné, but I think we might see him coming into form in the final week. You know, Bachmann's under a bit of an injury cloud. Everyone says he's a bit of a wheel sucker, but I think, you know, can he wheel suck his way onto the podium? I don't think so. I think he'll have to attack. So we'll see how it goes. And in Quintana, you know, he doesn't have the form that he had earlier in the year, but he's come in a good prep, and he seems to be getting better as well. But you know, you look at the teams like, you look at Arkea, you look at FDJ. I haven't mentioned Pinot, but for me, I don't think he can win it for two reasons. He doesn't seem to have the head for it, and he hasn't got a strong enough team. Like, the team that's going to the Tour is the Dauphiné team plus Godot, who isn't in great form, and I think, yeah, like, they're not going to be able to keep the race together on those. If they ended up taking the jersey on stage 2 or stage 3, I think they would really struggle. I think if Pinot's going to win it, he has to win it on stage 20 in the uphill time trial, and that's it. Otherwise, I don't think the team would cope. Dark horses, I think that there's a few there, but do I think, for me, the dark horses come from either Ineos or Jumbo-Visma. I think Sivakov, that ride in the Dauphiné, and I've realised I'm over time, that ride on the final stage in the Dauphiné should not be underestimated. Got away, he was into the breakaway, got away with Alaphilippe, crashed on that corner, got back on his bike even though he'd lost like half the skin off his shoulder and all the rest of it, rode back onto Alaphilippe. Now, you could say Alaphilippe was tiring, and he probably was tiring a little bit, but got back onto Alaphilippe, and then when the likes of Martinez, Kuss, and Pogacar, a couple of others obviously came across to him, he then proceeded to attack them all the way up the final climb pretty much until Kuss made that final attack, but he was still attacking. And that ride, I think, for me, that's a big ride from a young rider. Now, will he get off the leash at Ineos? Maybe in the third week. He would need to have everything go his way. And I think the same could be said for George Bennett or Sepp Kuss. Both have got fantastic form. We can see that, you know, the form lines for Bennett, for example, tie in with the Wout van Aert, Fuglsang, Vlasov form. You know, obviously Fuglsang was very strong at Strade Bianche. Vlasov was fantastic at the Ventoux Challenge, and then he won Grand Piemonte. Fuglsang obviously won Il Lombardia. Bennett was in the mix there. So all of that form kind of ties into the Wout van Aert form, which we know is fantastic. So, you know, they're riding really strong. Bennett's riding really strong. Kuss has got that form. That Velo News article that came out about his numbers were just next level numbers, and the way he closed down that Bernal attack as well, I thought that was phenomenal. He was even smiling. He was smiling while he closed it down, whether it might have been a grimace, but it was almost like, I've got this covered, I'm not even trying. He didn't even look like he was struggling. It was next level. You know, I think overall, I think that it's going to be a really interesting race. I think it's going to be super exciting. It's going to be really unpredictable, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. Anyway, I'm over time, 9 minutes now. Take it easy, guys. If you like the videos, I'm going to try and keep them shorter, but hit subscribe and or follow me on Twitter and all the socials, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.